So a little while ago, Realme dropped the GT7 in China, and that phone turned a few heads. But now we've got this, the Realme GT7 global version, same name, totally different phone. And yeah, it is technically a step down from the Chinese variant, but don't write this off just yet. I've been daily driving this for a little over a week, and in this video, we're gonna break down what it gets right, what it gets wrong, and whether it still brings enough to the table in 2025. If this is your first time here, or in case you need a refresher, my name's Ash, you're watching C4eTech, and let's get started. So there are a couple of things that Realme's done really well here, and the first one's gotta be that display. It's a flat 6.78-inch OLED panel protected by armor shell glass, still 10-bit, 1.5K resolution, so it's sharp, detailed, and just looks really clean. You've got support for HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision, and Realme claims a peak brightness of 6000 nits. In my testing, I saw a little over 1750 nits, which is excellent for solid outdoor visibility even on a sunny day. And if you are sensitive to OLED flicker, there's 2160Hz high-frequency PWM dimming in low-light scenarios, which helps cut down on eye strain. Overall, the colors are vibrant and punchy, but not ridiculously oversaturated. Whether you're watching content or gaming, it's a really enjoyable display, and the stereo speakers help tie the whole experience together. And that brings us to number 2 on the list of things Realme's done well here, the performance. Sure, it's again technically a step down from the Chinese version, but the chip inside is still no slouch. We are talking Dimensity 9400E, which is more or less similar to the 9300 Plus. So there is plenty of horsepower here, and this chip it's paired with 8, 12 or 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM and up to 512 gigs of UFS 4.0 storage. So yeah, the specs are solid, plus you get some nice extras like super resolution and frame generation options to enhance gameplay. Realme is also pretty proud of their iSense graphene cooling system, and to be fair, the thermals weren't terrible. After a stress test, the GT7 peaked at around 46 degrees, but here's the catch. It also dropped more than half its performance under load. So yeah, it throttles hard while not having a lot of thermal headroom. So if you're looking at it from a sustained performance perspective, this is not the ideal combo. Now anyways, since the frame here is plastic, it actually stays pretty comfortable during extended gaming sessions. No heat soak like you'd get with metal. The back is fiberglass, which is basically a fancy way of saying plastic again. But hey, at least both the frame and the back have a nice matte finish that does a good job resisting fingerprints and smudges. Now this version that I've personally been using, it's called the Dream Edition, a special collab between Realme and Aston Martin. This green might not be for everyone, but personally, it works for me. That combo of the deep green with gold accents, the car-inspired aerodynamic flow lines to the back, the iconic Aston Martin logo, to me, it all looks pretty slick. In fact, the box, the case, I find it all pretty cool. Now one nitpick in general is that the optical fingerprint scanner, I find it placed a little lower than I'd like. Not a deal breaker, but definitely noticeable. As for the button and port layout, power and volume keys to the right, IR blaster, secondary mic and speaker cutout up top, nothing to the left, and down at the bottom you've got the main speaker, microphone, USB-C port and a SIM tray. And yes, the global GT7 is also rated IP69, and it carries over the underwater shooting modes that we saw on the GT7 Pro. One thing I absolutely loved about using this phone was its battery life. It's got a massive 7000 mAh cell, and it just keeps going. On light use days, I'd wrap up with around 60% left. For context, I'd usually see 35 to 40% on most other phones under the same conditions. In other words, I don't see a realistic scenario where you'd end up killing this phone in under a day. Realme's absolutely nailed battery life. And when it comes to charging, the included 120-watt adapter gets you from 0 to 55% in 15 minutes and 100% in just 38. That's actually a tad quicker than what Realme advertises, which is always a nice surprise. They've also added support for bypass charging, so if you're gaming while plugged in, the power can skip the battery entirely and go straight to the phone, which should help reduce heat and battery wear. Good stuff. On the software side, This is Realme UI 6 running atop Android 15. Realme is promising 4 years of Android version upgrades along with 6 years of security patches, which is a pretty solid commitment. The UI itself, it's the same Realme skin that we've been seeing for a while now. Nothing dramatically different, but now you do get a sprinkle of AI features thrown in. There's AI-powered voice memo summarization, there's Smart Loop where the phone recognizes what you're doing and tries to offer contextual suggestions, and then the usual camera stuff, AI glare remover, AI eraser, the kind of tools you'd expect in 2025. Now when it comes to cameras, that is one area where this version, the global version, actually gets a bit of an upgrade over the Chinese one. The design is the still same space viewport, but there's an extra sensor here. The main camera is a 50 megapixel Sony IMX906, a 1x1.56 inch sensor with an f1.8 lens that's optically stabilized. And honestly, it holds up pretty well in good lighting. You get sharp, detailed shots with accurate colors. Under low light, it's still solid. Images are relatively clean with minimal noise. Not flagship level, but definitely above average. The 8 megapixel ultra wide is the same. It's okay, it gets more in the frame but lacks autofocus, so no macros here. The upgrade is that 50 megapixel Samsung sensor for 2x telephoto. It's not mind-blowing or anything, but it does a fair job, especially for portraits. Clean separation, nice color rendering. It's a useful addition. The selfie camera also gets a bump. It's the Sony IMX615. Nothing new, but still performs well. What's impressive is it supports 4K 60 video and the footage actually looked great. Detailed, stable, and crucially, there was no focus hunting or weird EIS jitter. Now I can't say the same about the rear camera. Now it can do 8K 30, but then stability takes a hit there. 4K 60 is much smoother, but it comes with that EIS jitter. I'm sure seeing this footage, you get what I mean. Now before we move on to pricing, a quick apology, my throat is still messed up with all the travel, so kinda put up with me for a couple of videos, I guess. I'm sorry guys. And anyways, also a quick shout out to Anbernic, video sponsor. Anbernic's now come out with a super cool handheld in the RG Slide, and as the name indicates, this one has a slide-out controller kinda reminiscent of the PSP Go or Sony Xperia Play. And since it's got a larger 4.7-inch screen, it's definitely bigger and a tad chunkier. But honestly, videos don't do it justice. In hand, that extra thickness, to me, it makes the ergonomics a whole lot better. It's one of the more comfortable handhelds I've used. This display BT Dub, it's 4x3, 960p, 120Hz refresh, paired with a Unisoc T820. It's pretty good for emulation up to the PS2 era. I've been having a lot of fun playing around with it for the last month or so since I did get my hands on this very early. Anyways, to know more about the RG Slide, check out the link in the description below. Now coming back to the GT7, globally this one starts at around 750 euros or in India 40,000 rupees. And yeah, there are definitely a few trade-offs here. Sustained performance, for example, isn't great, rear camera video recording still needs work, and the build materials aren't exactly what you'd call premium. But then again, you also are getting a lot. A flagship level chip, a killer battery, super fast charging, an excellent display, good software support. I feel these are real strengths that push this phone into serious value territory. So yeah, it is not perfect, but for the price, the GT7 still makes a strong case for itself. And that's my take, and I'm curious to hear about yours. So go ahead and leave a comment below that like button, and while you're there, if you haven't subscribed yet, a subscription would be nice. You didn't make it this far, right? Any which ways, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Ash out.